I came across an article recently here that, did you know in fact that insurance companies are out over $1 billion last year alone due to automotive theft? Yeah, as a matter of fact, insurance companies now are never on the losing end of the stick. And now some of them are actually hitting you, the consumer, with over $500 surcharge, or even as much as a third or half of your charges on top of that yet again. So they're increasing insurance rates because of what's going on, and that's automotive thefts. They always want to come out ahead of the game. Some of these vehicles are just easy to steal, and other vehicles are just highly sought after. We found that there was lots of vehicles that were ending up across the globe over the seas where they're really popular. They scratch off numbers or they part them out, and a lot of these would-be thieves are making a massive fortune. It's a hot business right now. Unfortunately, some people are finding themselves on the losing end of this stick, and realistically, a lot of these car manufacturers are building cars that are easy to steal. If you happen to be one of those owners of a vehicle that is particularly easy to steal, likely some of these insurance companies are literally going to smack you with some additional charges, surcharges, $500, possibly a third or a half more on top of what you paid previous years. Automate your life. Check it out, Brian. He's got some comments on about car insurance. Hi, Brian. How you doing?
Good. You?
Good. Hey, if you were to hazard a guess, what do you think is the most commonly stolen vehicle currently today? Now, some vehicles are easy to steal. For example, Kia and Hyundais have vehicles without that immobilizer installed. Those ones are easy to hit.
It'd have to be one of the popular ones, like I don't know, like a Honda Civic, something like that, Toyota Camry, those little cars.
Well, that is a great guess, Sir Brian. As a matter of fact, because you're right, the Honda Accord is number one. Honda Civic's high up there, as well as the Ford F-150. But there's another key one that seems to be picking up steam these days. What do you think that is?
I got no clue, man. I got no clue. You tell me. You're the expert.
Well, as a matter of fact, it's the Lexus. Yes, it's the RX series. That's their mid-level SUVs, are high on the list of vehicles that are stolen. And it's likely because it's quite easy to actually rip those off. But what that's actually doing is not about what vehicles are most commonly stolen. It's about other vehicles. For example, the Lexus RX are a hot topic and easy ones to steal, easy to get a hold of, and worth a lot of money overseas. Other vehicles, for example, like Toyotas and Hondas, particularly when we talk about the Honda Accord, Honda Civics, the Ford F-150s, Chevrolet Silverados, those vehicles are way up there. The thieves' hot target list for vehicles that generally go bye-bye to the customers and owners of these vehicles. And sadly, we not only lose the vehicle, we actually are grossly interrupted, we're inconvenienced. Getting a vehicle rental or backfill, often, even if you have insurance, means that you're going to be put off. You often get the short end of the stick, and basically you're likely to see an additional charges on your car. Once you make a claim of this magnitude, you're going to be smacked with some of those costs. But unfortunately, it's not just after, it's in advance. So if you're an owner of many of these different vehicles, you might be seeing one of these surcharges added, even if you haven't had your vehicle stolen.
We've seen as little as $500 increase to 26% increase on your insurance premiums.
Sadly, the brazen thieves now are at a point where I've got a story lately where I know an individual here at coming out of a local dealership, purchased their car, 6 months later was stolen, and they even caught it on video cam. They had video surveillance, and they saw the thieves. Not enough. The granularity of their cameras weren't enough to actually make out the thieves, but they saw it all in action after the fact when they woke up in the next morning and found their car missing. Their Lexus RX SUV, it was an RX 350, beautiful vehicle, but they're really easy to steal. So thieves cracked their way into the vehicle, cut the actual lock that they had locking up the steering wheel, and there's another series of events that they engage. I can't really talk about that, but it makes these vehicles particularly simple to steal, and sadly enough, all of this was captured on video, and this person I know reported this to me. We talked about it. It's just a sad state of affairs. They went through insurance, and now unfortunately they're having to find themselves a new vehicle and faced additional insurance costs. The insurance premiums rise, as well as these surcharges are now a threat to what these consumers are starting to see. Insurance prices. Do you feel yourself and your insurance prices on your car are reasonable today? So some of these insurance rates are spiking because of some of the popular vehicles I already mentioned. But other vehicles, for example, that are popular, on top of what I mentioned, Toyota Highlanders, Honda CR-Vs, clearly vehicles that aren't packed down with loads of high-end security surveillance systems, vehicles that are relatively mainstream, vehicles that are easy to shoot a long drive, steal, drive away, and not be targeted by police. You drive some of these mainstream vehicles are the ones, in fact, that are most targeted because they don't stand out like a sore thumb. You think if you were to steal a Ferrari or Lamborghini, that seems like the obvious, but those are the cars that are highly targetable by police. They see a purple Lamborghini driving by the road, they're probably going to ask some questions, versus possibly a base model Honda Civic. Nobody even cares. So the next time you receive your insurance paperwork in the mail, there's a high possibility that you're going to be faced with an additional $500 or even more.
Oh man, come on. Reasonable? Like I got this little Mazda here, right? Little Mazda. I know it's dirty. Don't get on me for that. But like, come on. I'm paying way too much. I've never even had a claim, Mark, and it's hundreds per month to insure this thing, and I don't know why. I don't know what I'm paying that for. It's such a simple car. There's not a lot to do with it. Even if you bang it up, like the replacement costs, the maintenance costs, they're nothing.
Well, statistically, you're right. The Mazda CX-5, like you're driving, is one of those that's historically quite expensive.
That one?
Yeah, that's the one. Historically, they are actually on the list of one of the higher. Now, there's vehicles that are much higher, but it is on the list of the top 15 highest vehicles, specifically the GT version of the Mazda CX-5. And so the last thing you probably want to see is your insurance rates go up, but the reality is insurance rates are climbing. And now a lot of insurance companies are suggesting applying a surcharge and a premium to vehicles that are high on the list of vehicles that are stolen. How would you like if that were to hit your radar?
Well, you know what? Honestly, like, I've seen the rates go up for this car every year that I've owned it. I've owned it about 3 years now. And, like, it's kind of at a ridiculous point where the rates are just going up. There's no reason given for it. So I feel like they're already just applying those kinds of rules to this stuff anyways.
Right on. You're right there, Brian. Thanks again. I don't think the Mazda is going to see the big rates, but you're good to go.
Did you realize that some of these insurance companies, now they're getting this list of most popular vehicles to steal? Now, there is a story of a young gentleman who was 29 years of age, had no prior convictions, a very clean driving record, and was driving a 2020 Honda CR-V, found all of a sudden himself with a 26% increase in his insurance premiums literally overnight. On top of that, so some of these insurance companies are trying to protect their investment and offer some tracking devices that you can actually install on your vehicle to actually help recover and recoup some of these stolen vehicles, or at least know where the intended target's going for the sake of trying to recoup that. But the problem is a lot of people don't want to be tracked. A lot of people are resisting that. And if they do, the insurance companies are threatening that if you don't take that tracking device, we will smack you with an additional charge on your insurance. So it's either take the tracking or possibly take the additional insurance rates.
Be sure before signing paperwork on your new car to ensure you research your insurance costs, as it can be a significant part of car ownership.
So when you're actually out shopping for your next new or used car, you really do have to consider how much the cost of ownership is. And the cost of ownership nowadays, unfortunately, isn't just the cost of fuel. It isn't just insurance rates and how much your monthly payment is. It actually could be a big part of the insurance is what drives that cost of ownership. Because a lot of vehicles are inherently much more expensive to insure, much more expensive to maintain and service and fuel, while other ones are much more affordable. And so as a consumer, you're well within your right to shop around. And insurance companies often do play games anyway. From my historical experience is that when you get too comfortable, an insurance company gets too comfortable with you, they slowly jack up their rates, and it actually forces you to continually shop around. So if you're finding all of a sudden you're opening up that paperwork, you're getting your next renewal for your insurance, and you're seeing that surcharge, or you're seeing a drastic increase in your insurance rates, please do shop around. Maybe even consider a different vehicle, because nowadays a lot of these would-be thieves are gravitating to some of these vehicles that are very popular. So if you happen to own one of those popular vehicles, such as Accords and Civics by Honda, Toyota Corollas and Camrys are particularly simple to steal. Nissan Altimas, Dodge Caravans, believe it or not, are as well. Chev Impalas, which is the rental car special, as well as the Nissan Maxima. Those are all examples of vehicles that are quite easy to steal. For thieves that actually know how to do it, they're easy to get in and get gone in a hurry. So those are vehicles you may want to reconsider buying. Maybe shop for a car that's traditionally easier. Do your research. Be sure to find a vehicle that's much more difficult for some of these thieves to take away from. Also to note, not all insurance companies are considering a surcharge. Not all insurance companies are reactively changing some of their rates just because of these high probability of thieves. And as well, a lot of manufacturers are now being engaged by customers, and there's pressure on these manufacturers to create cars that are much more challenging to steal, much more challenging to drive away with, and actually much more locked down. For example, Hyundai and Kia create their immobilizer sets are one trick that you can do to actually prevent getting your vehicle stolen. Don't forget, the club on the steering wheel, there's another great feature. Park in well-lit areas. Park in garages, indoors if possible. Be sure to not leave valuables sitting on the dashboard to motivate some of these thieves. And they even say driving a manual transmission is one of those easiest ways that prevents a lot of modern day thieves from stealing your vehicle, as many people just can't drive manual transmissions. So at the end of the day, there's options for the consumer. Just make sure you do your homework and you don't get hosed, because everybody works really hard for their car. And with all of that said right there, please do check that out. Understand, not only is it an expensive time to own a car because of insurance increases and thefts, but also because there's a lot of repossessions strictly because of the high rates of increases in the lending rates. You want to check that out, and why are there so many repossessions and what's going on in that space. Hope to see each and every one of you on the next one. We'll see you real soon. Bye-bye.